Hey everyone, thank you for watching. Today's video I'm really excited to do. I'm going to be choosing my all-star lineup of shadows from some of my favorite eyeshadow palettes. Okay, so this video is in collaboration with my friend Mandy, or Mandylea here on YouTube, and I'm really excited to collaborate with her, and she had this idea. I'm actually going to read you the message that she sent me so you understand a little bit about this video and her idea behind it, because this was her idea. So she said she thinks it would be fun to do an all-star lineup of individual shadows within eyeshadow palettes. Imagine that every palette you owned was a sports team. How would you go about picking an all-star lineup? And I'm a sports fan, so that spoke to me. She said, we all have those palettes that when we open them, there is that one or two shades that we always reach for. I was like, this sounds like an interesting challenge, and I'm gonna go ahead and take it on with you. So I've chosen some of my top favorite eyeshadow palettes. I'm gonna go through and share with you my favorite shades out of them and kind of show you what my all-star eyeshadow palette would look like. So please make sure to check out Mandy's channel. I will have her linked in my description box. I think she is such a just wonderful human here on YouTube. I mentioned her a few months ago in my creator spotlight video that I do with my makeup monthly series, and I mentioned in there how she does really amazing like 7 looks with one palette video. I think that those are so fantastic, and she just has really great videos over there. So again, please make sure to check her out. Thank you so much to Mandy for wanting to collab with me on this video idea, and why don't we go ahead and get started. Okay, so I chose out 6 different palettes to choose from, and I have 10 different shades that I'm going to be sharing with you. I felt like 10 was good because if you guys are new to my channel, hello, I'm Samantha. I always forget to do this in collab videos, but I am more of a neutral lover fan, and I also really enjoy smaller and not necessarily monochromatic, but palettes with more of a color story. That's kind of what I go for. I really like 9-pan palettes. I like 5-pan palettes, 6. But I decided for the nature of doing this video that we were going to go ahead and do 10 shades. And again, I narrowed it down to 6 different palettes. I recently did a video ranking all of the eyeshadow palettes that I tried throughout the year of 2019. It was 43 different palettes. So I went back to that video and I chose some of my top favorites from that video. So if you want to see why I love each of these individual palettes so much and where I ranked them in my 43 palette countdown, I will also link that video in my description box. I'm going to go ahead and show you the 6 palettes first. These are the 6 palettes that I chose out here. So from Natasha Denona, we have the Mini Nude eyeshadow palette. It's one of my favorites. I definitely wanted to include it in here. I have from Colourpop, this is the Going Coconuts. I also have from Colourpop the Sweet Talk. I really tried to narrow it down to just one from Colourpop, but I decided to keep them both in. I also have from Urban Decay the Naked Reloaded palette. From Anastasia Beverly Hills, I have the Sultry palette. And then from Tati Beauty, I have the Textured Neutrals Volume 1 palette. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the 10 different shades that I'm showing out. I'll share the close-ups as I do each swatch and then give you an overview of what my little all-star palette would look like. Alright, so first up in the Natasha Denona Mini Nude, I chose out this matte brown shade. It's one of my most used shades. I can't actually even fit my finger into it to do a swatch because there's such a large dip in that pan. So when you do see the up close swatch, that is actually with a brush. Everything else is with my finger, but I can't get my finger into this shade because I love it so much. It's just one of those shades that I can wear all over the lid, put some mascara on and call it a day, or I can use it as, you know, kind of like my first transition color in my crease. I love it, and I definitely wanted to include this palette, so decided to choose out my most used shade in this one. And then moving over to the Tati Beauty palette, I'm really impressed with definitely the mattes and the glitters in this palette. So I knew I wanted to grab out this matte right here, which is Soothe. Just really beautiful. Again, I go for neutrals more, so that's definitely what my all-star palette is going to look like at the end. But like, this is just, it's just a shade that I have to have in my palette. It's just a beautiful transition for me. Again, I can use it all over the crease and that's it. I can use it on the lower lash line. Like, I I have to have that shade in there. And the formula of the mattes in the Tati Beauty palette I think is really beautiful also. And then I'm going to move on to the Colourpop Going Coconuts palette, and out of here, a shade that I reach for pretty much every single time I go into this palette is the Shell Yeah, which is this last shade here. This one on the Colourpop website, they actually describe this shade as a neutral ginger brown, but I just think it's beautiful. It's one that I go into so often. Again, when I reach into this eyeshadow palette, I almost always am using that shade. So again, when Mandy said, you know, what are those palettes that we open up and we go to those 1 or 2 shades almost every single time, I definitely had to include Shell Yeah from the Colourpop Going Coconuts palette. Moving over to my Sweet Talk from Colourpop, I also really do enjoy this palette, and I decided to grab out ICYMI, which stands for In Case You Missed It. I really wanted to include this one because it has more of this terracotta feel to it, and I really wanted to include that in this palette. Again, I'm wearing a very purple eye look today. I love purples with green eyes. Oh, I did film this look too. This is from Friday's Chatty Get Ready With Me video, where I'm also answering the beauty consumer tag questions, so I will link that one down below if you want to see how I got this look here. I do really love purples. There's colors that I think are so beautiful with green eyes, like purple and oranges and reds, but something about like a good terracotta type shade just really gives me all the feels, and this is one that I reach for so much in the Sweet Talk palette. Again, it's just a really nice, easy to use matte shade. I think it looks beautiful all over the eyes, but I wanted to have, again, focusing on a neutral palette, but I wanted to have a color in there that really spoke to me and that really made sense with my eye shade, because that's what I tend to reach for a lot. And instead of going down a purple path, which I felt like I would need to add a few different purples in there, I decided to go into my beloved Sweet Talk, because I do have another shade from this palette too, and I decided to do In Case You Missed It. Moving over to some of the shimmers. Oh, I had to include the Sultry palette from Anastasia. Okay, the shimmer in here, Pearl, I think is so beautiful. I really wanted to include it because I think it's a really nice shade. You can layer it on top of other shimmers. You can layer it on mattes. I can use it for an inner corner, a brow bone highlight, again, just all over the lid even. But I think Pearl is just really beautiful. I do like a lot, like I do like the shimmer formula from Anastasia, but that one, Pearl, it definitely had to make it in here. And then going back over to the Sweet Talk palette, I also wanted to include the Super Shock from this palette. That is called Side to Side. So that is the second shade right here. So this is actually the Super Shock formula. So it feels a little bit different when you swatch it. I just think this is a really cool shade. And there's a lot of times that I've gone into this palette and I've just done In Case You Missed It with the side to side, and that is it for the eye look. I think it's a really easy shadow to use, and I do think that it's really beautiful. It's funny because I'm not a huge fan of the individual Super Shocks from Colourpop, and I think that might play into me not gravitating towards my single shadows as much. A lot of times I go into palettes, and because I love this palette so much and because I travel with it so much, I think that's why I reach for it more than I originally thought I was going to when this palette released, and I was like, a Super Shock and a palette? I don't get it. I think it's beautiful. I don't think it's dried out. I still continue to wear it and use it, and I think that side to side shade is really beautiful. Hopping back over into the Sultry palette, I also had to include Rose Quartz with this, which is the shade right here. This is such a beautiful shimmer, and I would say that it is my favorite shade out of this palette, even above Pearl. Just so beautiful. It has kind of, you know, that rose gold, that pinky look to it. It pairs so well, I think, with the other mattes that I chose out in here. The In Case You Missed It shade, I think it would look really beautiful together, and I just love that one. It's, again, like I said, it's my most reached for shade when I open up the Sultry palette. I take this one traveling with me so much too, and I get so many compliments. Kathleen Lights one time complimented me on my eyeshadow and asked what I was wearing, and it was the Sultry palette, and I was wearing Rose Quartz all over my lids, so just saying. Into my Urban Decay Naked Reloaded palette. Okay. The two shades in here, Reputation and Burn, are beautiful. I mean, pretty much every time I go into this palette, I have to use Reputation or Burn, or both of them. I think they just look so cool on the eyes. And I've had a lot, you know, I've shared kind of my lighter shimmers right now. I wanted to go into something that was a little bit darker if I have, you know, I want to kind of like amp up an eye look, or, you know, do something a little bit more bold for me and for being a neutral lover and all of that. Like, these two shadows are it. When Mandy came up with this idea and I read it over and I was thinking about it, truly this palette came into my mind because these are my all-star shades out of here. I just think they are so cool. I think they're so complementary to one another. Again, you can layer them. They're just so beautiful. I'm a big fan of those shades in the Urban Decay Naked Reloaded. And then I wanted to finish it off with a little bit of a fun shadow, and because I had the Tati Beauty pulled out for that matte shade, I was like, you know what? The glitters in the Tati Beauty Textured Neutrals Volume 1 palette are so impressive. The first time that I used one of the glitters in here, I was like, why is this so easy to use? I don't do glitter looks a ton, partly because glitter is a little bit harder to work with and sometimes I get a lot of fallout on my face and it's not really a fun thing. These glitters are really exceptional, and I thought, what better shadow to complete a 10-pan palette for me than to choose one of the glitters from the Tati Beauty palette. I had a really hard time deciding between the last three in the row here. I've worn all three of these shadows and I think that they are really beautiful, but looking over the row and looking over the other shadows that I picked to go into this palette, because again, I'm trying to make everything make sense to one another, I decided to do the glitter in the Soothe row. I think it's really beautiful. Again, I had Soothe in here in my all-star palette anyway, so I thought, why not go ahead and go with Soothe? I think it would make sense with the other mattes in there. I just, something about the glitters in this form, or the glitters in the shadow, the formula just has me so very impressed. So I thought, why not go ahead and add a glitter and complete off my 10-pan all-star palette. So that is it. That is it for today's video. Those are my 6 like really much loved on eyeshadow palettes. I mean, truly, if I had to get rid of all of my eyeshadow palettes and only keep this 6, I think that I would be pretty good. I would be very sad, and I don't want to get rid of all of my other palettes, but honestly, I reach for all of these so much. Again, I take them traveling with me in my on-the-go makeup bag quite a bit, and the 1 or 2 shadows that I chose from each palette are my most used, are my all-stars. And if I had to create kind of a perfect 10-pan palette for me, I think I could do that with these 6 palettes right here. Okay, how did I do? Let me know what you think. I was a little bit nervous for the video when I read Mandy's idea, and I was like, I hope I can do it and put something together well. I don't have the most visual mind, so it was really hard for me, and I took a long time really swatching everything and trying to make sure things made sense, and even putting them in like a right order for like my non-visual mind. I hope that I did a good job. I hope that you guys like this video. I'm really excited to watch Mandy's and see how many shades she chose and what palette she chose and what her all-star lineup would look like. Let me know in the comments. I really want to hear your guys' thoughts. What palettes would you choose? What shades would you choose out of there? Create some of your favorite palettes in the comment section. I would absolutely love to see that. Again, please make sure to check out Mandy's channel as well. She will be linked in my description box. Thank you to her for asking me to collab on this video. It was really fun, and it was a fun challenge, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Please let me know your thoughts. As always though, if you guys did enjoy this video, I hope that you'll give it a thumbs up. I hope that you'll also consider subscribing before you go, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.